My mother used to keep a very funny picture by her bedside. It was taken at the wedding of a family friend, and I was standing with my parents and one of my older brothers for a quick photo together. I was in high school at the time. At just the moment the photo was taken, a friend of mine walked behind us and reached over and goosed me. I was so startled, I raised up on my toes and started to look behind me to see who had done it. But in the photograph, it looks for all the world like I'm standing on tiptoe and looking at my brother, as if to try to make myself taller than he. The funny thing is, of course, is that you can plainly see the guilty trickster behind me, but the effect of the picture was so unexpected and so funny that my mother always kept it close. Mom definitely had a sense of humor. I tell you this little story because even though I wasn't trying to stand taller than my brother, because in fact I was already taller than he, it looks for all the world like I am trying to assert my stature as over against his. And this in turn points to another devilish temptation we all face, to build ourselves up by putting others down. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Friday, February 27th, 2026. So far, we've seen several types of temptation straight out of the Bible. These aren't the garden variety of temptations we often think about when we think about temptation. These are not food temptations, drink temptations, and so forth. They are the bigger temptations that are far more consequential. The first two come directly from the story of Adam and Eve. The first temptation is to claim equality with God. That's what the so-called forbidden fruit represented. The second temptation was the desire to deflect blame onto others. Adam did it by blaming Eve for giving him the fruit and for God for giving him the woman in the first place. A third temptation follows close on the heels of the second. It's the temptation to blame others for tempting us in the first place. The one we saw yesterday is the temptation to power. Today's temptation is similar to this fourth temptation, but instead of power, it is the temptation of status, and especially the desire to elevate ourselves over others, sometimes by putting others down. Now, this kind of temptation can take many forms, all the way from the temptation to call other people names to the subtle put-downs people say when they feel threatened. But perhaps the worst of the lot is the kind that comes cloaked in religious garb. This one is neatly summarized by a humorous saying that I've seen on coffee mugs and those sorts of things. It says, "It's not gossip if it's a prayer request." This is the sort of thing self-important busybodies say to cover their attempts to put others down. They share some piece of hearsay or a half-truth about someone else in a Bible study or prayer group, often accompanied by the words, "bless her heart." And what comes next is the worst form of self-serving slander, meant to build oneself up by tearing someone else down. I don't often quote from Proverbs, as you may know, but there is a section that seems to me to speak perfectly to this kind of temptation. With their mouths, the godless would destroy their neighbors, it says, but by knowledge the righteous are delivered. Whoever belittles another lacks sense, but an intelligent person remains silent. A gossip goes about telling secrets, but one who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a confidence. So this temptation is one of the most insidious, because we are led to believe in our heart of hearts that because we are godly people, we are spiritually superior to others. But our spiritual pride blinds us to the fact that we are, in fact, not superior. And the minute we believe we are superior, well, we've already fallen prey to this very temptation, a temptation that can have tragic consequences. As Paul put it so eloquently in 1 Corinthians, in a somewhat different context, "Now concerning food sacrificed to idols, we know that all of us possess knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. Anyone who claims to know something does not yet have the necessary knowledge, but anyone who loves God is known by him. You may remember that the problem in the Corinthian church was the temptation of spiritual pride, a pride that took the form of people believing that they were superior to others in the church because of their supposedly superior knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up, says Paul. Knowledge, in this case, is pride. And the antidote to this kind of pride is love. Love that sees others as equal to us in the eyes of God. This kind of love is the only way I know to combat the temptation of spiritual pride. Tomorrow, the last temptation. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.